Hey there, guys. How's it going? So yeah, let's talk about the events of boxing that took place last night. Yeah. So first of all, I want to talk about the big fight, the one that I was most excited for and most looking forward to for such a long time, and that is the Mairis Briedis versus Yuniel Dorticos fight. Now, my thoughts on this fight were, yeah, I mean, they're pretty standard. I mean, this fight went exactly as I expected it to go. I expected it to go the distance. I expected Mairis Briedis to win and win pretty comfortably. I mean, if you check out my predictions and any comments I left over the past year or so about this fight, I never doubted that Briedis would win. And my point from very early on in regards to this fight, and what I said all along, was that Briedis just brought more to the table. You got two guys here, two cruiserweights who are very big punchers, very physically strong and imposing guys who can knock you out with one shot. Except one guy is an elite boxer and the other guy isn't. Okay, Briedis just brought so much more to the table. He had good movement, good feints. He has a great uppercut that he can throw from halfway across the ring. He's got a great jab, great right hand, great defense. He's very good at drawing a lead from his opponent with feints and jumping in with punches. And he's just a very technically good fighter. He's got great balance, shown an excellent chin in his career. In fact, I don't think that Briedis has ever been down in his career. If he has, then I must have missed it. But I don't recall him ever being down once in his career. Whereas Dorticos has been down a few times. He was down a couple of times against Gassiev, of course, and he was down once before then too. So to me, just Briedis brought so much more to the table, and I had no doubt he would win the fight. What I wanted to talk about in regards to that too was the commentary was pretty funny. I mean, the Sky Sports commentary was acting as if it was a close fight and it was competitive and it was some sort of classic and some sort of war. It wasn't. Okay, this wasn't a close fight. It wasn't a competitive fight. It was a pretty standard one-sided schooling from Mairis Briedis. He won every single round. I don't care what anybody says. Dorticos didn't win a round. Um, Briedis was just completely outboxing him, outlanding him. Dorticos was following him around the ring the whole fight, throwing the same punches, the same combinations over and over, looking for the right hand, just an occasional jab. He attempted some counter left hooks here and there, but when he did, he was getting caught with Briedis' uppercuts in close. Briedis was hitting him at will. It was a very easy one-sided schooling. And again, I didn't give Dorticos a single round. I thought Briedis completely outboxed and schooled him. And yeah, Briedis is a very underrated and underappreciated boxer. He's the type of fighter who's very versatile. He can punch, he can box, he can move, he can tie up and spoil when he needs to, he can survive. Like I said earlier, he's got a very good chin and he knows how to tie you up and take away your rhythm in the ring. He's just a very, very technically good boxer. And when he's on form, he's very difficult to beat. I mean, he gave Usyk one of his toughest fights. So I definitely think that Briedis is a great fighter, and I look forward to seeing what he does next. I would like to see him potentially face off against Alunga Makabu. I think he would beat the crap out of Alunga Makabu, and I'd love to see it. But I think it would be an interesting fight. I mean, again, Makabu is one of these guys who has the power to change a fight, and he's obviously very awkward. He's a southpaw. He's got a good chin too, so that would be a fun fight while it lasted. But I would definitely favour Briedis. I don't see him competing for very long though, because I believe he's 35 now, Briedis, so he's getting up there in age. But I do suspect he will have a couple of decent title defenses, maybe a unification. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do next. Very, very good fighter, very underrated, and yeah, he made easy work of Dorticos. The scoring of the fight was a travesty. I'm assuming that the judges were just a bunch of cooks. I mean, I don't know, because one of them had it 114, 140. Again, Briedis didn't win a round. It was a very one-sided fight. Dorticos didn't win a round. Yet for some reason, one of the judges saw fit to give the fight even, have it 114, 114, and that made me chuckle. It made me laugh, and it was disgraceful. But I mean, we've come to expect it at this point, haven't we? In boxing, I mean, people just don't know what they're looking at, do they? And that includes so-called professional judges. I mean, if you had this fight a draw, just stop watching boxing. I'm not even kidding, because this is the thing. Let me break it down for you, right? When you've got one guy landing punches and another guy landing nothing, that's not a draw, okay? That's a one-sided win for the other guy. So yeah, yeah, clear win for Briedis. The other two had it 117, 111, which again was too close. But yeah, it was at least the right man won. That's all that matters. So yeah, great performance from Mairis Briedis, and I look forward to seeing him fight again, whoever it's against. Maybe he could face off against the Glavatsky versus Okoli winner. That's another one I forgot to mention. That'd be a good fight for him. So yeah, moving on. So Josh Taylor got the job done by a first round KO. It was really a nothing fight. I mean, this was a mandatory opponent. It was a guy who was undefeated, but a guy from Thailand who hadn't really fought any credible opposition. So we all knew that it was going to be he was kind of an unknown commodity. We didn't really know if he'd be completely out of his depth against Josh Taylor. And yeah, he was completely out of his depth. He had no idea what he was in for. And as soon as he took a solid left uppercut to the body while he was up on the ropes, it was one of them sickening liver shots that Josh Taylor caught him with, a beautifully well placed and accurate left uppercut to the body that just incapacitated him. He just folded up and he was done. Yeah, he had no chance of getting back into the fight, so he just stayed down. And yeah, it was a very good performance from Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor is, as I've been saying on here, he's the best fighter in the UK. He's one of the best British fighters of all time, and I've said that for a long time, and I stand by it. And yeah, he's a pound for pound level fighter. If he keeps winning and he stays motivated, then I see him being potentially a top 5, top 3 pound for pound. He might already be there. Okay, he's definitely there in terms of just the eye test, in terms of talent. And for a guy who's only had 17 pro fights, he has one of the best resumes in British boxing history. For only having that many fights. So yeah, really, really great fighter, man, and he just obliterated the guy easily. I don't really know what else to say. And what I will say too is, if you're expecting, because they're talking about him potentially fighting Jose Ramirez next for an undisputed fight, don't expect to see that fight anytime soon, is all I'm saying, because let me tell you right now, and I might be wrong here, but this is how I see it, as it stands right now, they are never going to put Jose Ramirez in the ring with Josh Taylor. Not at this point, anyway, because let's be honest, if that does happen, Josh Taylor will beat the shit out of that boy. He will demolish him. Okay, Jose Ramirez is a good fighter. He's got good power. He's a pressure fighter. He's a good body puncher. He's got good stamina. He's a good fighter, right? He is. But Josh Taylor will wreck him. Let's be honest. That's like again, it's the same situation with Briedis Dorticos. You've got two guys who can punch, right? But you've got a guy who has great boxing skills and another who doesn't. Another who's more rudimentary. So that's what that fight would be. Josh Taylor will break that guy down and probably stop him. I mean, Victor Postal clearly beat Ramirez in the eyes of most fans. Didn't get the decision, obviously, because Ramirez was the home fighter. But yeah, Victor Postal clearly won that fight. Let's drop all pretense and let's just call it as it is. But Victor Postal won that fight, and Josh Taylor already beat Victor Postal and beat him pretty clearly. So yeah, that's a pretty one-sided fight in my opinion. Josh Taylor against Ramirez. I wouldn't be surprised if Ramirez were to fight Jack Catterall next. And the reason I say that is because Jack Catterall, I believe, is the WBO mandatory. I think he has been for quite some time, actually. He's the WBO mandatory, and he's a southpaw, and he's got quite good boxing skills. He's also undefeated, but he doesn't have anywhere near as much talent or as much power as Josh Taylor. So with him being a southpaw, but with him not really being that dangerous by comparison to Josh Taylor, that would be a fight for Catterall to really test himself, to see if he can fight somebody like Josh Taylor. Somebody he'd be a good sparring partner, so to speak, a good measuring stick to get him ready for Josh Taylor. So I think that's a fight we would likely see next. I would maybe favour Catterall. Sorry, I would favour Ramirez over Catterall in a very close fight. It's not a foregone conclusion. I mean, I could see Catterall potentially springing the upset. He is a pretty good boxer, a little bit underrated, but he's not quite on Josh Taylor's level. So I could see that fight happening, and I could see that being the next fight, as sort of a measuring stick. But I don't expect them to put Ramirez in the ring with Josh Taylor anytime soon. I don't think they want that fight, if I'm being honest, because let's be honest, he can't win. At least not right now. They would need to see some significant improvements on their side, and they would need to make sure that Josh Taylor was, in a position where they could beat him. Put it that way. They would need to really stack the deck heavily in Ramirez's favor, because right now he gets wrecked. I mean, if that fight happens in the UK, let's just call it what it is, right? If Josh Taylor gets home advantage for that fight, it's a foregone conclusion. It's an easy fight. He wins it clearly. So that's all I see really in regards to that. I didn't watch the American fights. I just couldn't be bothered staying up. I had other things to do. I just watched the Briedis fight and the Josh Taylor fight. I wasn't really interested in the fights over in America. The Charlo fights and whatnot. I just wasn't interested. I really wasn't. And from what I hear, Charlo Derevyanchenko went pretty much how most people thought it would. It was a competitive fight that went the distance, but the judges in America had to give Charlo the decision, otherwise they're racist. So I mean, they had to give it a wide decision to Charlo. From what I hear, it was a lot closer than the judges had it. But again, I haven't watched it, so I'm not interested. But that whole event just reeked to me. It reeked of some sort of political statement, and I saw the knockout from from the other Charlo brother, where he just gave the guy a little tippy tap to the belly. And it was funny to me. I saw comments, right, quite a few comments here and there from people stating that the Josh Taylor fight was a dive. Even though Josh Taylor got the guy on the ropes, set him up perfectly, and caught him in the liver with a quality and well placed left uppercut right to the liver, where the guy didn't see it coming, he wasn't tensed up for it, and he just folded, right? And people were saying that was a dive and that it was suspect, but Jamel Charlo, just giving his opponent Rosario a little tippy tap to the belly, which barely made contact. Most of it made contact with the elbow. Just a little tippy tap, little half jab while stepping backwards and stepping to the side, and the guy goes down like a sack of spuds. Nothing suspicious about that. No, that totally wasn't a show. That totally wasn't a setup. It is what it is. Again, I only saw the highlights. I saw the knockout and whatnot. It looked like a good show. It looked funny to me, but I didn't watch the fights in full. Like I said, I haven't seen the Charlo Derevyanchenko fight, but from what I hear from people's post-fight reviews, it went pretty much how we all thought it would. It was a competitive fight that went the full 12 rounds, and Charlo got the decision wider than expected. So, I mean, what else can I really say about it? I don't really need to watch that fight. I mean, Charlo beats Gennady Golovkin and Danny Jacobs' leftovers in similar or worse fashion. And yeah, he's going to get praised for it. It is what it is. We knew what that whole situation was all about. So that's all I've really got to say. I thought Briedis looked fantastic. I thought Josh Taylor, as usual, looked fantastic. And yeah, I look forward to seeing where they go next. I would love to see, like I said, I would love to see Briedis fight Makabu. I think that's the best fight in terms of just entertainment value. I think that'd be an absolute war should it happen. And I would love to see, personally, I would love to see Josh Taylor get that unification with Ramirez, that undisputed fight. But I don't see it happening anytime soon, if I'm being honest. I don't think they want that fight. So that's all I've got to say. Yeah, just a pretty quick video here. That's pretty much my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and yeah, God bless.